Boom, allegories, story tale. Hey y'all, Curtin here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about why it's so hard for us to understand each other, even if you're brothers. That's right. We're going to use the story of the two brothers, the Prodigal Son, famous biblical tale about the father whose older son stays by his side and works hard every day. His younger son leaves, right? Doesn't have a care in the world, no responsibilities, goes into town, spends all of his money, has a good time. He's a hedonist, travels the world, whatnot. Comes begging, "Oh, Father, Father, please forgive me. Oh, I've been bad, blah, 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 blah." All right. Of course, the father slaughters the fatty calf, the prize cow, and the older son is displeased with this, right? So today we're going to bring in an expert on narrative. Uh, Director Guy Ritchie is going to dissect the story a little bit, and then we're going to come in and figure out how this affects all of you. Why two colleagues or two friends or two teammates can't understand each other, and based on their different paths. All right. So take it away, Mr. Ritchie.
But the essence of the story is that you are the father. You are enough. Your older son is your intellect. He says, "Oh, don't do this, don't do that." He's trying to reconcile, make sense of a prosaic and material world. The younger son, being the wild, feral entity that he is, wants to go out in the world and find out what it's all about. So in his recklessness and sense of adventure, he finds that he can't escape himself. So he has to return to himself. And at which point, he has to accept who he is. At which point, the intellect is left out of the equation pretty much as the older brother, because he can't understand the significance of the journey of the wasteful brother. In the end, you have to leave yourself to understand the value of yourself. You have to lose stuff before you realize that all the stuff that you're losing is ephemeral and transitory. It's not yours. You're enough, you're always enough, but you've got to somehow prostitute yourself before you realize your own value. That is the essence of all stories.
All right. Okay. So here we have a little bit of a metaphor, right? The older brother is the placeholder for intellect, right? The older brother is doing what you should do, right? From my point of view, the older brother is what we all thought the world was like when we were kids, right? You're in school, you're supposed to graduate, you're supposed to go to university, you're supposed to get a job, you're supposed to work hard and wash your clothes and brush your teeth and pay your taxes and do all these things. And that's exactly what the older brother does, right? The older brother's purpose for the reader is for us to kind of see that standard, what everyone kind of expects from the world. But of course, it's very rare for any of us to actually follow that prescribed path exactly. Most of us have our moments, maybe not so extreme as the prodigal sons, but we go off the reservation, right? We go, wow, we just lose it. We want to do something for ourselves. We want to chase something. We want to invest in ourselves. We want to taste and try and experience things, right? A lot of people might do a gap year, right, before university. Some people will quit their job or get fired and use this opportunity to explore their interests. Maybe they'll move. Maybe they'll sell all their furniture and buy an RV and travel around. Yeah, who knows? But whatever it is, we all kind of understand the younger son, right? We know this feeling of testing the world, right? A story that I like to use in a lot of the coaching that I've done is pretend you're blindfolded, right? You're in a dark room. You can't see anyway. There's no one else in there. You're naked. You're by yourself. You're on the ground. You wake up like this. Well, you have a few options. You can stay there where you feel that it's relatively safe, right? You can call out for help, but there's no response. Eventually, most people will stand up, put out their arms, and start feeling around the room, right? They're going to try to find a wall or some furniture, right? And after a while, they'll have a mental map of where are we? What is this place? What are my options? If you find a bed, maybe you can go lie down there later on when you're tired. If you find a sink, maybe this is a place to get water, right? But some people never explore, they never test for fear of that unknown. And others have a very vivid, almost colorful image of this room, even though they're blindfolded, right? And I think this is where the beauty of the prodigal son comes in. And as Guy Ritchie pointed out, the older son, the intellect, cannot appreciate that journey, that exploration, that mystery, the discovery, walking around a room blindfolded. And that's why it's so difficult, even for two brothers, right, who grew up in the same household with the same father on the same farm. These two brothers will not be able to understand each other because one stayed on the path and one tried to form his own, failed, and now has returned. So let that be a lesson to all of you out there. Maybe in certain situations, you're the older brother. You're the voice of reason. You're doing things the right way. And you're forced to deal with people making your life more difficult, right? Folks who are always unorganized, they're always late, they're always just messing things up. Try to learn something about the relationship, right, between the older brother and the younger brother. Or maybe if you're in the position of the younger brother, try to understand how difficult it is for the older brothers out there in your life to understand you, right? I'm not saying either one of you needs to change, but you just need to understand each other and how they got to where they are, right? It's unrealistic to think that everybody will just automatically agree with us or have empathy for us, or you have to do your duty to explain your reasoning. You have to show where you come from, and you have to be aware that for some people they've had a very different journey. But hopefully, just like in the story, we can all put our differences aside, sit down together, and enjoy a feast. Thanks.